Okay, let's go. All right. So welcome to this introduction to Blender 5, where I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to go from being an absolute beginner to becoming a pro 3D artist. In fact, this very first video will be about not only introducing you to Blender, but most importantly, it will answer the question, what do 3D artists even do? And because it is far easier to show rather than tell, now I'm going to show you a couple of animations that have been created by Blender Studio. This is sort of the channel of Blender, of the creators of Blender, the official studio behind it. And every year when they release a new version of Blender, like in this case, Blender 5, they usually come up with a short movie that kind of showcases what new features are, or to give you a general idea of the kind of level that you can achieve using Blender. Okay, so that was an amazing example of what you can do in Blender. Again, this was produced by Blender Studio. And as you can see from the credits at the end of it, it took a lot of people working together to create this great work. A lot of hours and a lot of talent went into it. A lot of people with expertise in different areas of 3D graphics, but also music, animation, and so on. Now, this video came out just a few days ago, so it's fresh out of the oven, but now I'm going to show you one that came out last summer, and that was more of a technical show reel, and within the animation itself, there were some insights into what Blender actually can do under the hood. So let's watch it, and then I'll tell you more about it. And this one was Project Gold by Blender Studio. Again, this was published 1 year ago, and it is more of a technical showcase. And throughout the video, you can kind of see what's happening underneath the finished output. So you're seeing a little bit of 3D modeling, rigging, texturing, lighting, animation, compositing, 2D painting, and so on. And again, this one is another example of a super high level achieved by a team of very talented people. But that is not always the case. In fact, a year ago, Flow, which is another animation movie, won actually an Oscar, and that one was produced entirely on Blender and from a very small team with limited budget. So that is pretty amazing. They actually won an Oscar, going up against Titans, and actually they won as an independent studio. You may also have noticed that in the last year or so, there's a lot of emphasis on this sort of stylized, painterly animation style. That is where the Blender developers have put kind of their maximum effort lately to really become strong in that area. But that's not all that Blender can do. In fact, here is an example from some previous lessons I shared on photorealism. But anyway, now it's time to move on to actually downloading Blender. So here we go. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to download Blender from the official website, and I will also walk you through a few important notions that it's good to have about 3D software, like knowing about versions and requirements. So the official website is the one I am on right now, blender.org, and I will also leave a link in the description of this video if you want to make sure you land on the right page. But don't rush into clicking on things just yet. Hear me out for a minute. So on the homepage, you will always find the latest version, which also includes betas and alphas, which are experimental versions, meaning that they are like in-between versions where the developers of Blender are rolling out new features to see how they perform and if they're stable and reliable. And these are usually cutting edge additions to the features that Blender already has. So for the purpose that we are interested in right now, which is learning the fundamentals, that won't really affect us. But as a general rule, it's good to know that if you are working on a real production, regardless of which software we are talking about, you want to make sure that you develop your project on a stable version and not an experimental one, because sometimes some features don't make the final cut and they end up being pulled or canceled when the full stable next version is rolled out. Anyway, moving on, this is now a good time to make clear that Blender is 100% free. It always has been and always will be, as it is developed by the Blender Foundation, which is an independent public benefit nonprofit organization. So you are good. Now, at this stage, if I were to click onto Test Blender 5.1, I would be redirected here on the daily builds, which is a side of the official Blender website, which is for developers. And it is the official place where you can go and download the experimental stuff, but that is not what we're going to do. Instead, we are going to click onto download right up here in the menu bar, which will bring us to the official download page where you can download the latest stable version. And this page should also automatically detect what kind of OS you are running. So for example, I'm going to download the Windows installer right there. Now, while it downloads a few things, first of all, it is likely that by the time you see this video, things may have changed a little bit, and that's okay. That's totally normal. New versions are rolled out all the time. So it might be that when you go onto the home page yourself, you will find a different banner and it will prompt you to download, say, Blender 5.1 or Blender 5.2 or whatever might be the featured version at that point in the future. And here I am from the future just to show you that a few weeks later, maybe a month, the website is already different. So for example, right now They are kind of like showcasing this new animation video that I have shown you, Singularity, which is sort of the latest showreel that demonstrates what Blender can do. And like I said before, although the landing page might change what the feature of the moment is, you can always click on download from the tab on the top, and always is going to bring you to the latest version of Blender. So if you notice right now, the latest version is v5.1.1. And that's the reason why this course is going to be labeled 5.x, because no matter what subversion of Blender 5 you are going to download in the near future, this is where you're going to learn about it. You will be good to go, and the topics that we will cover will be just the same. So you are good to go with any future version that is coming out. Now, to be clear, between Blender 5.0 or 5.1, or even if you go back to say 4.5, you won't see any big changes when it comes to the basic stuff, because the fundamentals of 3D modeling and also Blender as a software have been around for quite a while. So even if you're going to work on a different version, you should be able to follow along just fine. Now, before we wrap up this section, I just want to show you quickly a few things. Now, making sure that you are on the download page, let's start with the LTS. So if you click right here, you will get to the LTS section, which stands for long-term support. And these are stable versions of Blender that have been designated to receive support for the years to come. And again, this goes back to what I was saying before, that if you are, say, a company and you're going to make a product for the public, choosing a version with long-term support is your best choice. Next, over here, there are the previous versions where you can download any Blender version ever published. So if you need any specific version for some reason, like compatibility with a plugin, that is where you will find any past version of Blender. And then we have the requirements, which obviously give you the specs you will need on your machine to work with Blender. You have both the minimum and the recommended. And lastly, we have the demo files. Shiny. Now, before you go and download every single demo file like a bank robber, let's get Blender installed first, and then we will come back to this, I promise. Okay, so installing Blender is super straightforward. Like any other software, you click on the installer and you go through the next step and the next step and so on. And the very first time you open up a new install of Blender is gonna ask you about your preferences. So because on my computer, I also have installed a previous version with Blender 4.5, it's also asking me if I want to import the preferences from the previous version. I find it that the default options are perfectly fine, so just save new preferences. And now you are seeing what you will see every single time that you open up Blender. This is how it opens up every single time. And then you can just click anywhere else and it will disappear. And you are now officially running Blender 5. All right, that is pretty much it for this lecture. Now you should have a good idea of what Blender can do, how to download and install it, and a basic sense of versions and what other resources are available on the official website. In the next video, I will introduce you to the interface and I will help you make sense of it. And also I will give you some pro tips on how to set up everything so that you have the best experience. Now, before you go, just a couple of announcements. I just started recording this series and high quality video take a really long time to make. So if you're like really excited and you can't wait, I recommend that you check out the previous version of this same series. There will be a link to its playlist in the description. This new series that I'm recording, it's an improved and expanded version, but I can guarantee you that the previous lectures are still very much valuable and you will be able to start there and follow along just fine, even if your version of Blender is not exactly the same. So go and check them out. And second, I have decided to start a Discord server for this community and this channel. And this is your invitation to it. You are invited to join. Again, the link to join will be in the description. And I just hope that this server will grow into a nice community and a valuable resource for you and your journey from zero to hero. All right, gang, I'll see you around.